Hi there, it's Kyle Cease, and today is Monday after the Orlando shootings. A terrible tragedy in our country and in the world. And I wanted to talk about the greatest way that not only can we contribute, but do a lot of healing and inner work on ourselves at the same time. I believe that when people say, "How can I help?" or "How can I contribute?" Or when they're feeling just enraged or infuriated, which is totally understandable, I believe this is the greatest thing you can do. It's the greatest thing for the world. It's the most important thing you can do for the world, and I'll explain why. Yesterday, whenever a huge tragedy happens, whatever emotions people typically feel get to be magnified. So, people that are sad often were very sad, and people that were angry were very loud, and people that feel that kind of hate about different people really felt it yesterday and are feeling it today. And people that feel compassionate often feel even more. So, whatever your emotion is that came up for you, that's because that's what's inside you and might not have been accepted yet. In other words, we have a lot of emotions from our childhood that often we haven't felt the allowance to express. We haven't felt that it's okay to express those emotions. So, if you felt angry about something, maybe you've been scared to be angry because in your childhood, your your dad, walks away if you feel angry, so you feel abandoned. Or maybe you've never felt that you've been allowed to be sad. There's sometimes people in their childhood feel like when I'm sad, I'm in trouble, or my mom yells at me or something. And so often these are emotions that they keep coming up in us, but we've created a protective defense mechanism against them. And they're just emotions that want to be heard and felt. And often we've spent our entire life not feeling those emotions. And every time we don't let them there, or every time when an emotion starts to come up and we go right to Facebook and just start scrolling, or when an emotion comes up and we immediately just can't be alone with ourselves because we're not feeling it, or we just try to find someone else to connect with, or we just get drunk, that's because an emotion's coming up that we've trained ourselves that isn't okay to come up. So when we do that, when we become addicted to something, when we whatever, we basically are telling the emotion that it's not okay, and it goes back down. And now we don't have to do that anymore. We can feel those emotions, and sometimes it's really scary because we haven't for our entire life. And so our fear of feeling that emotion is keeping it from coming up. And it's just an unknown feeling, but that doesn't mean that it's not going to be the greatest feeling after you feel it. So when a tragedy happens, a horrible, horrible tragedy like yesterday, these emotions start to want to come up. They want to express. They're scared. They want to be heard. And a lot of times when we don't hear them, it can turn into massive rage because you have these feelings that you keep pushing down. And then you walk around with new feelings that you're stacking on top of it. And the greatest gift you can give to the world is to feel these emotions for the first time. And when you do, they often are something that sat in you for years. And when you allow them to come up, when you accept them, when you let yourself feel and be and allow and love and experience sadness, experience fear, it's what it is, believe it or not, that little kid in you that's looking to get approval from your parents. And it's like saying, I'm sad, but you're scared to be sad because you're scared that your mom will yell at you or something, or your dad will walk away, or your dad will yell at you, whatever your thing is. It's what you can do for the first time is tell that little you that it's okay that it feels that way and you still love it anyway. So if you spend an hour today, sometimes 2 hours, people right away go, I couldn't do that. That's your inner child talking. It's talking based on what it's seen so far. Of course, you can sit for an hour. But if you went away into nature or just sat in silence on your couch today, something like that, whatever it is, immediately what happens is you'll close your eyes and all these thoughts will come up. I can't do this. I got other things to do. I gotta whatever. And all that is your past childhood talking. It's just a thought. And if you let that come up and it goes, I don't know what to do, and you give it love and you go, and that's okay. And you picture your emotions like they're another child. If another kid was talking, you wouldn't ignore it and immediately go on Facebook. If another kid was saying, I'm hurt, you wouldn't immediately, go drink and ignore it. You'd look at the kid and go, yeah, you are. That's what you need. You need you to listen to yourself. You need you to be there for yourself, because these emotions come up because they were buried in you, and we feel permission to feel those emotions collectively on days when there's a tragedy, because you finally think other people are feeling emotions, so I can feel mine. I won't be a weird one when I feel my emotions. So that's why you start to scream it out, because everyone gets to be enraged on these days. And so if you sit and you allow yourself to just have the emotion come up, like I'm scared, and you just go, I understand, and you stay there. You don't try to force it. You don't try to push it. You don't try to do it to get rid of the thought. The thought is a feeling inside of you, and you are so much more powerful than your emotions. You are so much more acceptance in a space of love and such a place of being that these emotions can come up. Imagine you as a campfire that's just a place of love that these emotions can walk right into and then just turn into smoke. If you do this, you end up creating a space where the emotions can die in through love. They can't be ignored. They can't be repressed. That's going to keep them there. Any child that you just ignore or repress will feel that it can't express itself and will feel more and more pushed down. And what we need to do is be a space of unconditional love for ourselves. And when we do that, then we can be a space of unconditional love for other people. You can sit here and be a space for other people because you've taken your emotions and let them leave. So now you're this big, wide open heart and open space. And then you can be a campfire for other people's emotions. And then people can look at you and go, I'm so mad about this. And you can be like, I hear you. Because they're also really mad about their childhood and not being able to be heard. They're angry about other things. The hatred we feel is hatred towards ourselves that hasn't been looked at, that hasn't been loved. Our anger at even angry people, our anger at people no matter what, even when people are yelling at you and going, you did this to me, they're actually also angry at themselves. And I don't mean that in any way other than you can be a space of love to hear them. And if you did something to someone, you absolutely need to apologize if you feel that you did something to hurt them. But if someone's yelling at you and they have anger in it, that's because there's still an emotion they haven't felt, and you don't have to take that personally. You can just be a space of hearing, a space of understanding, and when someone feels understood, their anger can leave. When someone feels heard, their inner child finally feels accepted and can leave. And then you move from anger to sadness. And when you're in sadness, it's now gone. It's going away. It's outside of being lodged in you, and now it's in front of you. And when you're in a place of sadness, that's it leaving. It's actually leaving through your tears. You notice after you cry, when you let yourself cry, sometimes you feel different and in your body and connected. That's because you just let that inner child be accepted so much. And once it's accepted, it can leave. When you accept yourself fully, you connect with yourself. When you repress an emotion, when you reject a thought, it ends up making you stuck with it. Everything we don't want, we get more of. So when you have a thought and it goes, they might not like you, and you go, and you in resistance to that thought, then it gets tight. Our problem isn't the thought, it's our resistance to the thought. So if you allow yourself to feel, then you bring a newly healed person to the world in a space of love, that everyone around you that hears you suddenly also can feel loved too. And all of the expression that you want to get out to the world, you can also give to yourself, and let yourself just be a space to hear the part of you in your childhood that's trying to express itself through you. And when it does, you end up being a space of love, of unconditional love. And that's the number one thing the world needs in this time. We don't need all of our unexpressed inner children fighting each other and killing each other over and over and over again. Vengeance, going to a place of vengeance and wanting to fight back, I get it. That's your inner child feeling unheard, wanting to fight their inner child feeling unheard. So our job is to be a space of love by listening to ourselves and loving ourselves fully. And this will help you in all areas of your life. You will suddenly be able to connect with people who love themselves for real and can love you much more unconditionally. You can end up creating things from a much higher perspective. You can do so much more when you're in a place of being in love. And these horrible tragedies are a place where these emotions are coming up, and our job is to hear them, release them, love yourself, love the part of you that never felt loved by your parents, because your parents did the best they could. And remember, their parents were, a couple generations back, you're in the Great Depression. You're, a few more back, you're in slavery. This giant boulder of anger and pain and repression has gone down generation to generation, and we're really one of the first generations, and we're in the first time where some people are starting to understand the pain you're feeling. You can and I need to take care of with yourself. And when you do, you can bring a new space of love, because we're literally carrying like generations of pain. Almost like the Viking times are being passed down onto us, and we're the first group that's, there's some groups before us that did some work, but we got to heal this in ourselves so that we don't keep passing our parents' pain onto our kids' pain. We got to take care of this ourselves and feel it and be the heroes that take these garbage bags of pain and don't just keep passing it to each other, but look at the garbage bags and love them so that they can leave. And that's the greatest thing, in my opinion, we can do for the world when there's a tragedy. We really need to allow ourselves to hear the anger and pain that we feel inside of ourselves. And when we do, we create a whole new contrast, a whole new space of love, a whole new consciousness. Because love is truly the only way we're going to change the world. Love is all you need. The Beatles weren't kidding when they said that. And that's what you are, and that's what you have, and that's the way to help the world. Thanks.